uses improv in her therapy, and she is a counseling psychologist. I'm really excited to have a conversation with her because I saw all the different activities she was doing at her startup. So, and since improv is not something that we are exposed to that often here in Pakistan, you guys are going to learn a lot, right? So first, let's talk about what exactly improv as a word is. So improvisation or improv basically means doing something without prep, right? Sort of just not having any plan. But how did it come to therapy? How did it become a part of therapy? And how do we use it in therapy? That's something that Sneha will answer, because we traditionally looked at it as drama. We traditionally look at it as art and stand-up comedy. So Sneha, what is improv in therapy?
So improv is basically it's a space that is. So I'm going to just tell you a gist of what improv is. Let's start there. Even though whatever you know personally, you might know certain things about improv. You might have some ideas about improv, but let's give it a little bit of more picture what improv would be like. So improv, in theory, is a space free of judgment or fear of failure, and it is an ideal environment for people who struggle with low self-esteem, social anxiety, or other types of anxiety disorders. This is how we use it in therapy. And when we say fear of failure, we mean whenever there is, generally, let's say you do theater, you go for acting, things like that. People make mistakes with their lines, and some people miss out lines, some people make often forget what the next sentence was, and they ask for a script again. If you see blooper reels of acting, of some movies or TV shows, you might have seen some blooper reels, and they'll show that, oh, I forgot what was the next line, and they'll laugh about it. That's basically where the ability to laugh there comes from from being free of judgment, from having no fear of failure, and being afraid, not being afraid of making mistakes. That's where the ability to laugh at, not remembering the lines or things like that comes from, and not being embarrassed about it. Especially in actors. Now, when we as normal people try to do certain things in our lives, trying to apply things, trying to do things, we're always wanting things to be perfect. Let's say writing a script, writing a paper, writing or giving a speech, giving a presentation, or anything really. We are afraid of making mistakes. We're afraid of missing out certain things. We're afraid of pronouncing something wrong. Even for the worst pronunciation, sometimes we'll be afraid of saying certain things wrong and being judged about it, being afraid of making mistakes and being ridiculed about it. Now, what happens in improv is there's a freedom. There's a freedom. There's no space for failure, no space of mistakes, and mistakes are often celebrated because that's an opportunity to learn from. First of all, we say there's no such thing as mistakes, but if there's certain things that are happening and we feel that we've made a mistake, we celebrate it. We celebrate it as a free space to learn from, and we give each other this free space, space free of judgment, so that people and many times, so that's basically, sorry, if I keep talking, I'll keep going. So let's take a pause here, and I'm going to give the space to you, Dua, to see if there is any further clarification needed here.
Yeah, so I understand that when we enter an improv space in therapy, we sort of establish these ground rules that there's no judgment here. We're celebrating mistakes, and that sort of builds the rapport. Because for a therapist, it's really hard. If you talk about traditional talk therapy, both the therapist and the client have this anxiety that how is it going to play out, and we start ruminating that what are we going to do once the client enters the room, how are we going to talk, and the client as well. So according to your experience, if you start with improv, you start with an improv activity, how does it make it easy to build the rapport?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I do in cases. So I don't always start my client sessions with improv. I don't always use improv in all client sessions. But
Mm.
let's say, for example, a client is having difficulty opening up. Let's say a client is having difficulty or with moving forward in therapy, or difficulty with processing their emotions, don't know what to say next, feeling stuck really, or completely feeling absorbed by the emotions as well, not just completely frozen. Um, there, I will, especially with individual sessions, this is what I'll do. I'll use improv as, let's say I'll use improvised art. So so I do a combination of art therapy and improv sometimes. And sometimes I'll use this improvised art game. So it's a game where we use we use art, but in improvised form. So there's no space for making mistakes. The client has freedom to completely go out there and do whatever the art they want to do. There's no structure there. And so they're free to express what's coming up. And that helps them really just let those emotions out. And we talk about it after they've done the expression, and we go from there. One of the ideas is that. The second is, the second art improv is to scribble. So we scribble on the paper, and we kind of try to see the shapes from that. And then whatever shapes come up, we make a story from that. And that's another form of improv. And that's something I'll do with my clients sometimes, or sometimes there'll be some other kind of game where we say, let's do stoneball, or let's do one word at a time. And that's for the individual session, to build a rapport, to break the ice, to make them feel very comfortable, or to kind of, if session feels stuck, we kind of, that's a space to proceed in a session, to help them have an outlet to move forward, and kind of we have an opening there to see, oh, this is what's stuck in the subconscious. Let's see what's the story there, and so many times improv can be a room, or the microscopic lens to subconscious, if we use it in this way in therapy session. Yeah.
And also, like, you shared that you took a class on improv, and that's when it attracted you, and that's when you really got into it. So can you share a little bit more about that? Like, how did it differ from your idea of traditional therapy, and why it excited you so much?
Absolutely. So what happened is, when I was doing my master's in counseling psychology in United States, one of our classes was about improv, so using theater games, improv games in a group setting. So we learned how to use that in a group setting. And it was just one day we were just doing that as a general games, just to get the basics of it, just to get the hang of what improv feels like, what playing improv in a playful setting feels like, and not to think about therapy, not think about clients, nothing, just be in the present moment. And we got to experience it fully. And when we got that experience, the next step for a professor with us was to basically have us exposed to how we will use improv in therapy. And that's where we got that experience, and we got the experiential aspect, which is we got to act it out with our classmates to see, let's say we were in therapy session and we offered this as a improv game in family therapy. So as we were doing this, as I was on the experiential level, and I was getting the added experience of improv in classroom setting, but personally getting the experience of it, really, it helped me feel more opened up. I was able to feel my emotions. I was able to feel like I could express them. I was able to have an outlet to my emotions, to understand how to really express them out, and not to feel judged for them, and to know that it's safe to express my emotions. It's okay to express my emotions. When I experienced that, I was like, oh, this is very therapeutic for me. This feels amazing, and I want to pass it on to others. So, but before I could do that, I wanted to experience it even more, really, to understand it even more, have more confidence in improv. And so I went for some meetups, improv meetups in the States itself, and I joined some other meetups, got more experience, got to experience, and I saw the therapeutic benefits of that. And that was, and so when I came back to Dubai from the States, I was able to offer it as a meetup to others, and I saw the therapeutic benefits of that in others. So people would come often for the meetups, and they would be like, when they came back next for the next meetup, they'll be like, oh, last week's meetup was amazing. I had a great sleep. I was energized at work. And I felt like a child, but also I was creative and I was spontaneous and I was able to make decisions easily. And so I was able to see these therapeutic benefits without actually putting a label of this is therapeutic. I was just offering it as a meetup, but I saw that this was helping them out in a therapeutic way. And so from there, the therapeutic improv came about.
And like we keep talking about all these techniques of, positive regard, we keep talking about empathy, but it's kind of difficult to understand how to apply that in traditional settings. But when it comes to improv, you're automatically practicing all of that, right? So it's like whatever is happening in front of you, it becomes easier for the participants to feel that, right? To feel the other person, to have empathy, because you are a participant yourself as well. So I think that's one of the most beneficial things about improv. And so let's talk about, whenever I was researching on improv, I kept coming up with the phrase yes and. And so I was like, what does this mean? What is it? And then I discovered that they say that this is kind of like the mantra of improv therapy. So can you talk about that? What is yes and? It's a game, but it's also a philosophy.
Yes. So it's basically yes and is a kind of a mindset. We have that in improv. So let's say someone is making an offer and you say yes to that offer, no matter what offer is, no matter if you internally are feeling that I'm not comfortable with this, or you're feeling that, but I had some other agenda. Even then you observe that. So the more you practice yes and, especially from, I'm sharing from my own personal experience, the more you practice yes and, the more you're able to observe that, okay, I'm saying yes because I have to, because it's part of improv, and I'm not comfortable with this. But when I say and, I get to add my thing here. And so we're now working together as yes and. So you say yes to their idea, but I'm adding my idea to this, and we're together working and making this, meeting each other in the middle. And that's the therapeutic part of it, isn't it? So the person gives you, yeah, do you want to practice yes and here?
Yeah, let me say something and then we can practice it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll say, Sneha, I cannot make it to the live today. Sorry. I just have a lot to do.
Yes. And we can try to find some other time to make it to live.
Yes, and what time do you think works for you?
And so the idea would be yes. What time do you think works for you? And then I would say, and, the statement would be this way. So the idea is to offer a statement here. So where I can say yes and do. So you said yes and. Which is good. You're continuing it, which is, you're continuing it. So you said yes, and what time would work for you? And so I would say, so instead of saying that, the phrase will be rephrased. Yeah, so you would rephrase it to something that would, where I would also be able to say yes and add to it.
Okay, so can we meet this Saturday at 6? Can we meet this Saturday at 6?
Yes, we can meet this Saturday at 6. And we'll check if an internet connection is better.
Yeah, I understand it now. It's very, because let's say that when the therapist and the client are having a conversation, there comes a lot of resistance and sort of defensiveness. But when they go along with each other, it sort of creates rapport on its own.
Exactly. And when you use this yes and with couples and family therapy, and I've used a lot of improv with family therapy, with couples as well, in very subtle ways. For especially with couples, you have to use it very subtle ways. It's don't be too open yet, especially when they're not ready. You have to be very subtle with them. But with the family therapy, because the kids are involved, everyone's like very much, gets into it, and it's more playful when the kids are involved and the family gets into it. So that way you can use a lot of improv games and you can play along, and it's beautiful, and everyone gets to see each other's perspectives. So when you use yes and there in couples or in family therapy, it becomes a beautiful space for them to understand each other's perspectives, So you're seeing someone saying something and you see the resistance there in the family itself because the couple's already not getting along. And you'll see that, oh, I'm not liking what proposal they're adding here, or what statement they're adding. I'm not liking because I'm already irritated with this person. I don't like them here right now. But okay, I get to say and, yes, and I get to add my thing. So I'm getting something out of this. You'll see that coming up for them. You'll see it in their eyes. You'll see it in their body language when you're seeing them doing the yes and with each other. And you'll see how it's working for them, because when the one person might feel resistant and not comfortable with it, but when they get to add something of their own to it, they're like, oh, okay, I get something here.
Yeah, it makes you learn that even if you're disagreeing, there can still be common ground.
Exactly.
And so now let's talk about, I found this research that how improv has been very helpful for social anxiety because,
Mhm.
like when you're anxious, you keep ruminating about a certain situation. Like, what if this happens? What if this happens? But with improv, in a safe space, in that therapeutic room, you can actually practice that situation. You can actually expose yourself to what can happen. So can you share some insight about that? How can it help with anxiety?
So recently I used this trick with one of my clients who was experiencing a little bit of anxiety. And what I did was I asked them, okay, let's put you in a mental social situation. And let's try and put you and what would happen in this situation. Where are you sitting? What's happening? So, if you've seen these improv shows, they'll ask audience suggestions. They'll ask for what is the location? Where are you sitting? When you're doing the role play thing in improv, you ask for audience suggestion for a theme. So let's say the theme is romance or a date, first date. And then let's say, okay, where's the meeting point? Where is the venue or the location? And then you choose zoo, or someone suggests zoo, someone suggests aquarium, someone suggests, you ask for audience things. So someone suggests, let's say, a candlelight dinner. Whatever the options are, you take the audience suggestions and you kind of like go with it. So there's a yes and there too. Um,
Mhm.
so that's something that happens. And then similar situation, what we do is with the clients, we offer a suggestion. So we go, we ask for audience suggestions. So the audience would be the client themselves. And I'm the one so they are the audience and they are the one who's doing role playing. That's what's happening there in their mind. So we do a visualization thing, and we go with this. And this is, so I get very creative with my clients when I work with them. And I use a lot of improv techniques in that as well. And how I use it, there's no rules in that too. There's no rules of how you use an improv techniques. There's one way that works, but not one way that works for everyone. So you have to find creativity there. So with the client, I said, okay, let's go in your imagination and let's see, you're out there with your friend and you're sitting in a social setting and your friend wants to introduce you to a group of friends, other group of friends. And now you're nervous about that, isn't it? So you don't know these people and you're nervous about how you're going to talk to them. What if they reject you? Now let's see, what is your favorite place? So we'll look for a happy place. And let's say, what if your friend takes you to your happy place and you meet these people there? What would that be like? What happens now? And then we do role play there, and things open up. And so this way you can kind of like help them, and then we go from there. Like there's like um, a follow-up after that happens, and it helps. Like you improvise each and everything after that, but you start with a suggestion.
I'm like you said that there are no rules in improv, and that's what you
There are
observe when you.
rules, but yeah, there are rules of improv, but there are no rules in the way you do the improv, in a sense how the game is played. Yes,
Yeah, because when I started researching on it, I saw that different therapists had come up with different games. Everybody had their own way of doing it. And
exactly.
that's really surprising that they were staying in a rule, like staying within the rules, and yet they were allowed to break the rules.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
still, one of the things that, kind of with improv is that it depends on the practitioner's skills a lot. What kind of skills do you think really are needed for you to manage improv? For example, even if you're doing it in a group or if you're doing it individually, what should you be mindful of?
So now, first of all, I'm going to tell you, so I'm hearing your question here, and this question seems to be telling me that you're looking for some kind of techniques, something that we need to be mindful of in improv, right? And what comes to mind is what's important in improv is listen and respond. And this works in not only theater, this doesn't work, this not only works in theater, not only works in improv games when you're doing it in on stage, but also works in therapeutic space as well, mainly, which is listen and respond. Listen to the suggestion, listen to what the person is bringing to the table, listen to what the other person is bringing up, the idea or whatever that is, the offer. In improv, we use language as offering statement. So whatever the offering statement is, listen to that, receive it, and then respond to that. Do not resist to their offer, just like you don't want them to resist your offer. So it goes both ways. So it is essential that people listen to one another and react to the information they're hearing. And that's very important. That's one of the most important ones when you're doing improv. And it also is the same rule that applies in therapeutic practice. It's the same rule that applies in improv, in theater, in acting. Then the next one would be embrace a yes and mindset. So sometimes what happens, now this also happens like if you're a therapist and you have your own agenda with the client. Okay, let's say we've been seeing this client for a while. And now after a while, what happens is, let's say the client, you kind of, after getting to know a client, you're like, okay, now this is the plan we need to put into place, the treatment, next session, we'll have this agenda in play, and this is what we'll do with the client. The client comes with their own story and we have to go with the yes, and the agenda just goes out the window sometimes, because you have to keep the agenda for another day, or maybe not do it at all because the client's needs changes. And when they bring something else to the table next session, and what we can do here is listen and respond, yes, and put that mindset into play with the client. It works in relationships, it works in sometimes, and never plans don't always go, things don't go according to plan. That's what I'm trying to say. And so it works in life, it works with relationships, it works at work as well. If you're working somewhere, it also, and I'm speaking not only to our audience here, but also the audience on Instagram who will be listening. So that's why I'm keeping it generalized, not just psychology and client-based related, but generalized. So everyone can relate to this statement. So that's why yes and listen and respond works all, like on all levels, including a therapy and client relationship, including acting, including theater, including improv, including your workspace and other relationships. So yes and statement works. And then next is follow your first instinct. So whatever your first instinct is, that is a spontaneous kind, that's what you need to follow. Do not think. In improv, we don't think, we just act. We just go with whatever comes up first. It's very quick, it's spontaneous, and that's the beauty of improv. It helps you be like quick, and it's where the comedy happens. If you've seen the improv shows, you see the comedic timing. When you don't think, you just, kind of go with your first instinct and not dwell on it. Like, what if it's right? What if it's wrong? It really is successful there. You see it. That's the magic happens. And it's actually the beauty of follow your first instinct also applies to social anxiety. Because when you do that, when you offer to clients who have social anxiety or anxiety issues, and you ask them to trust their first instinct, follow their first instinct, it takes them away from that overthinking, that spiraling, that thought process, that what if this happens, the what ifs of thoughts. It takes them away from that, and it brings them into the present, in the moment, and just going with their instinct, learning to trust their instinct. So that's what happens. So follow your instinct is another one. Then the fourth important thing that we need to follow, keep in mind, is be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with what you want to bring. Be honest in that sense, And lastly, relax and have fun. It's very important to be just relaxed, let go, and just have fun. Important to keep in mind that when you're doing any kind of improv, in therapy, in anything at all, when you're using improv in therapy, especially in with clients, throw the agenda out the window and just remember to have fun. Even if they're your clients, when you relax and you do any games with your clients, improv games or improvised activity, remember to just let go, relax, and get into that game, into that mode with your clients. And you'll see that, they'll be able to participate even better when you're also enjoying it with them. So that's important. Yeah, that's the 5 important techniques I want to bring to mind, the rules that I wanted to bring to mind.
Yeah, you're right. That improv now makes way into organizations, into workplaces, and basically, when, for example, you go on an orientation day to some new organizations, they're usually going to practice improv with you because that will help you bond with the audience, with your coworkers, and in that sense, that is why it became so popular in so many different fields. Right, every field found something for themselves in that, in this technique.
Yeah.
Also,
So
yeah,
sorry
yeah.
to interrupt, but I do think let's take this moment to kind of do a quick improv round with whoever is present here. And would that be open? Would you be open to that?
Yeah, sure, that would be good.
Okay. So you could either type, so I want everyone here to type your answers below, or you can unmute yourself and participate. And then on Instagram, once this is posted on Instagram, I am also wanting that to be set out, that if the listeners on Instagram would be listening to this and we're doing this, you can actually add any words, anything to this on the comments as well on the Instagram once this is posted. And so this is for those who will be listening on Instagram. So the rule of this game is we'll have one theme, one topic. It could be summer, it could be beach, whatever the topic is. And then we'll just say one word at a time. And we'll start with trying to stick to the theme, but without thinking. It has to be spontaneous. So follow your first instinct. That's the rule. And just say whatever comes to mind. So one word at a time to create a story or a sentence to match the theme. And if you want to continue, we can continue, but sometimes it might even not make sense, and that's okay. The sentence might not make sense. That's okay. We're just kind of going with one word at a time. Just go with your instinct, whatever comes to mind. That's the idea. Okay, so let's think of a theme. What's the theme?
What's the theme, guys? It could be a summer at the beach.
Summer at the beach. All right. So I'll start since I'm leading the game and I want to give an example. So I'll start and then we'll go around and you can unmute yourself to say it or you can type it on the comments.
Yeah.
There. No thinking, just go with it. First instinct. Yes, go on.
All right. At the beach in Karachi, at the main beach in Karachi.
No, just so I said there, that's the first word. See, it's one word at a time. So you're just adding one word. Yeah.
I thought you said where. Okay, there.
There.
Are.
Okay, next.
Lots.
Okay. Talha. Trees. Okay. Harsha. Birds. Okay. So there are lots, trees, birds, windows. That's my word.
And.
Rabab. Okay, and. Mountains. Open. Rabab.
Food. Food.
Okay. Chocolates. Pizza. Okay.
Wind.
Wind. Beautiful. Okay. Next.
Horses.
Horses. Okay. Anyone else? Boots. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Let me add waves.
Sun.
Sun. Okay. And if you want to end the sentence, you either put a full stop in the chat or you say dot, dot, dot. And we can end the sentence there, and then we can start a new sentence. Flow. Okay.
Dot, dot, dot.
Dot, dot, dot. Okay, we're ending the sentence. All right. So do we have time to start a new sentence, or everyone got the idea of the game?
I think we did make a story out of it.
I think we did make a story. Yeah, we get the idea. We get the picture that they're you know, we're at the beach and that's a lot of food, and there's waves and wind and some boots. Maybe it's raining and flowing of the waves, and some birds, and maybe some mountains, and your country at the beach, and maybe some other beaches also have mountains. That's pretty good. Oh, we've got some pictures here. So we got the idea of the story. And if you want to start with a new story, we can start, or if you want to play another game, quick game, we can play that too. There's another improvised similar style that's called a sentence at a time. It's where what I do I do this as a friendly game with people, use specifically to make poems. So we get a theme, one person says one sentence at a time to create a poem. And that's just whatever comes to mind again. Don't have to think twice. So if you all are interested in that, we can just do like a sentence at a time to create a poem for a theme. If we have time, we'll do that. If not, we can move on to the next part of questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do a sentence at a time. Okay, then. So how this works is, again, we need a theme, like one topic. Maybe it could be like, okay, sleep, or you can say bedtime, or you can say whatever topic is, really whatever you're feeling in this moment. We can choose that as a topic, and we can go with a sentence at a time.
Yeah, cats. Cats is the topic.
Okay, cats. They are fluffy and independent.
She is a smelly cat.
She is a smelly cat. Okay, who's next?
I think dogs are better than cats.
How dare you? Okay, so she's a smelly cat, and then I think dogs are better than cats. And who's next? Smelly cat, what are they feeding you? Okay, I see a Friends reference. Who's next? Was it Harsha? Harsha didn't go yet. Do you want to take a turn? So no thinking, remember, spontaneous, whatever comes to mind. So the last sentence used was smelly cat, what are they feeding you? If you want, you can add to that one to continue on, or if you want, you can create your own sentence to according to the theme, but whatever comes to mind. Anyone else wants to say something?
That cat attacked my rabbit.
That cat attacked my rabbit. Okay. The cats are cuddly and therapeutic. It wasn't her fault. Okay.
I think Persian cats are really cute.
Persian cat. Okay, I think Persian cats are really cute. And then, but so much fur, I'm asthmatic. Okay, so I'm seeing two different storylines evolving here. So in the chat, there is, okay, there's an addition to the poem which says get your inhaler to but so much fur, I'm asthmatic, and then get your inhaler. And then there is another storyline on cats evolving on the speaking terms here, the voice. So we're seeing two storylines on the same theme evolving here. And that's interesting. That's again another form of improvisation. So there are two things, and we didn't even try that. It just happened. So spontaneous. Okay. Anyone else wants to add something? So Jemina, what did you say last again? Can you please repeat that?
I think I talked about Persian cats, but they were cute.
Okay, Persian cat. Persian cats are cute. So you think dogs are better than cats, but then you think Persian cats are cute.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. So that was the last sentence. Anyone wants to follow up on this sentence in the sense you want to add something to her sentence about cats?
To Jumena's sentence, or to the last
Yes.
sentence that we have?
No, to Jumena's sentence.
They're
So yeah, go on.
they're also very lazy.
They're also very lazy. So Persian cats are cute, but they're also very lazy. Okay. And then I'm going to add to this, maybe we can close here. So some cats are lazy, some cats are active, some cats are hunters, some cats are hypoallergenic, some cats are cause allergic reactions, but they all are there for a reason. Okay, and then ... Anyone wants to say that too?
I think you just ended it on a really good note.
Thank you. So
yeah, I also
so
think
now
I took some U-turns in between, but it ended really nicely.
thank you. So one person can always choose to find something to end a sentence. And that's how sentence at a time, especially when you're doing it for a poem, can work. Sometimes there's no end to a sentence at a time game. You can just keep going. But if you're doing a poem style, then you can bring an end to it, and you can be like, okay, this is the end of this theme poem, and that's the end. And you can bring a way to end it. So this is just two simple games of improv, and it's the same style that people have turns and we say certain things, and that's the game. There are other games as well, like sound ball and musical orchestra. I've played musical orchestra with special needs kids in the past, and they've loved it, and it's great. It helped them with their socialization skills. So it's really, really good to play. So, improv can also work with special needs as well if you use it, and have simplified games to play with them as well. So yeah, so I've given some information here. Any follow-up questions? Anything any of you here want to ask?
Yeah, if anybody wants to ask any questions, you can.
Do we have any other questions, the pre-designed questions to ask?
So yeah, and is there any evidence in terms of, like, have we paired improv with any, let's say, any imaging techniques to see how it affects the brain? And because I did read up on a research that it really helps Alzheimer's patients, because using traditional therapy, they might not be able to talk or have, but when you do improv with them, you can actually see improvement in their socialization skills and how they're like relating to each other. And it was also shown in the amygdala that it was getting active, and sort of there was activity going on.
I haven't personally done any research for that, but I can tell you from my own personal experience that it is in fact true, because like I said just now, that I've used improv with special needs, children with special needs in group setting, and it's really helped them out. So those kids with really low social skills to no social skills, plus those kids with a little higher social skills were all in one group for improv, and it helped. Like, when we started having a game going, we started to see subtle difference in them. subtle eye contacts being made, subtle smiles and laughters coming along. There were kids who found certain things funny and they were pointing out to each other to say, oh yeah, that's funny too. And, in their own way, of course. So that way it made a really lot of difference in their brain cognition and brain functioning and social skills as well at the same time. They were able to, in the classrooms, after we did improv games with these groups in a group setting for a whole month, like on a weekly basis, after a month's time, the teachers in the classrooms noticed a difference in their concentration classrooms and the way they were improving in that as well. Alongside that, when I was in United States, I worked with old age group in the old age homes, and I offered them improv as well and improvised art therapy as well, both, and that really helped them as well. And that also caused a lot of change in their social skills, and they were able to laugh and enjoy a lot. And then, but I combined that not with EEG or anything, but I combined improv and art, improvised art with music. And that brought back and music from their times, music that they remembered, that they could easily, so some of them had a lot of memory problems as well themselves. And so when I played music, that got that back some memories. They were able to move, they remembered dance styles that from long back, and they started dancing with each other. And so a lot of memories started to come back. They were able to recall things from long ago and memories and nostalgia and things like that. So the part of the brain that it acts as acts for nostalgia, like how we have memory recalling, that was activated there thanks to some art therapy. And this was hands-on art, improvised style, along with some improv games, and that really helped them. And this was for like 4 or 5 months that I did that. And in that time period, it really improved a lot for them. So this is something I'm telling you from my personal evidence.
Yeah, because there are there's not much research, but generally there's people, therapists who use this technique are going to tell you that it really does work.
Yes, and you can use a lot of combination. You can use art and music, and there's now a newly evolving kind of a form of improv called musical improv, where people use music in an improvised way and do improv games with music. And there's different kinds of musical improvs, and that's another whole other evolving thing that's coming out, and that also has its own therapeutic benefits. So like I said, there's no rules on how you do improv. It's just a few things that we need to keep in mind, sort of rules that we have, but outside of, you can always go outside the box.
Exactly, like dance therapy is and dance improv is also becoming a thing now.
Exactly,
Even
movement
in
therapy.
Pakistan,
Yeah,
even here, a few therapists who were trying sort of normalize this concept.
Yes.
So yeah, it's becoming a huge thing now.
Yes, and you can always do role play in therapy. So anytime you are not comfortable with certain things, and certain times you might want to do role play with clients and they'll find it silly. But remember that each individual, no matter how much of an adult body they are in, we all have a child inside of us. We all have a small little child that wants to play and hasn't had a chance to play, maybe when you were growing up as a kid. So a lot of things, like I do a lot of inner child work as well. So a lot of things that, everything is connected in a way. That's what I believe in. And so when I do inner child work, I also use improv in that to activate the child part of them, to bring back the fun and games that they missed out on, and they start feeling silly about it, but it goes on to them actually enjoying it and benefiting from that.
Exactly, that's a very important point, because the inner child movement has gained momentum and it has become so popular, and it has been, but to embrace that in therapy is, like, I think improv is one of the most important ways that you can do that, right? Because when you look at some of the videos on YouTube, you can see elder men sort of mirroring and enjoying and becoming comfortable in the process. So it's really nice to see, because a lot of people have this sense of a missed childhood or neglect, and they can sort of reenact that in the therapeutic setting.
Exactly. It kind of, you can find different ways of bringing that part of them back, or to let them experience that again. So something that they missed out on, you can kind of help them revisit that part of them that they missed out on, and it can work beautifully in a therapeutic way for them. Yes. I had some feedbacks from some of my previous meetup participants for improv, and one of them would constantly say, it's like I'm connecting with my child self. It feels like I'm healing my child self. It feels like I'm a child again, and feels great. And this was a feedback without me even trying for it. So it's really like I could see it without offering it in a therapeutic way. It was turning out to be therapeutic for the improv meetups that I used to host before I started putting it into my therapeutic practice.
That's amazing. And thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? We had an amazing time. I had an amazing time talking to you, and the games also, we can clearly see everybody enjoyed. Thank you so much for coming, and hopefully we'll see you again and collaborate again. It was an amazing collaboration, and thank you for sharing so much with us.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure connecting with you all and having you all participate in improv games. I wish we had more time so I could offer some more games to you all, but inshallah, next time.
Yeah, sure. We can always we're following you on like your Instagram, so we can always keep a check out on that. So inshallah, we'll send you this recording as soon as possible, and we're going to upload it on Instagram as well.
Sounds great. Enjoy your day, everyone, and hope you have a good time. Nice meeting you all.
Have
You
a
too.
good time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.